Good morning. It's good afternoon, actually, everybody. I'm Gail Lee with Aging Advantage. I'm the president of the board for Aging Advantage. We're a nonprofit here in the St. Louis area that works to help the elderly and disabled in our community with case management and other services. But one big service that we do is these educational presentations. So we're doing a caregiving education this month, and Donna and I are going to work with you today. Donna, if you can come back, that would be great. We're trying to introduce this topic of the six-part series on caregivers, a road to care, map to caregiving. Is that what it's called again? Introduction to the map to
Yes.
caregiving. And there's going to be a six-part series, and we'll be coming on Monday and Wednesdays for the next 3 weeks, and hopefully closer to 12 as we planned. But you guys didn't know because you're just watching us live anyways. But Donna, do you want to do a little intro on our videos? We're going to be looking at Margaret Cook has given this before. We've had it on video, and then after, Don and I will kind of discuss some of what she talked about. Everybody always seems to like this video series.
Well, I think you explained it enough. So at the end, we'll be back to discuss it in more detail and get some comments as well. Thank you for your time.
So we're just waiting for her to share her screen. She's got to share that video. But in the meantime, caregiving can be such a just such a stressful thing, and so that's why we have this map to caregiving that it's like a roadmap, and having the different steps. So it looks like it's going to come in a second here. Here we go. And Margaret Cook is a licensed professional counselor here in the St. Louis area, and she does specialize in this area, so she will be giving us these tips.
Welcome to the Introduction to Caregiving. I'm Margaret Cook. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Missouri. I'd like to spend some time today talking with you about caregiving. According to the American Psychological Association, 1/3 of the adults in the United States are currently involved in a role where they are giving care to someone. Perhaps you're on that journey. Or maybe you recognize that it's a journey you'll take. As we talk about this, I'd like to compare caregiving to taking a road trip. I think it'll make it easier for us to talk about this. This topic is sometimes difficult for people to consider, and especially once people are thrust into this role, particularly if they weren't planning on going on that trip. As we talk about this today, I'm going to encourage you to plan for this trip, whether you're already in a role of giving care or whether you recognize that it's something that's coming up on the horizon for you. I would encourage you to think about the logistics. There's nothing like going on a trip when you don't know where you're going. It helps to have a good map, a good companion, and all of the resources that you need in order to make the trip as enjoyable as possible. What was the last trip that you went on? What is it? Was it a trip that was to someplace you were planning to go? Or was it someplace unexpected? Caregiving has both the things that we intended to have happen and those things that surprise us along the way. Having a good plan can make all of this a lot more workable. As you plan your trip, remember that some of the details and the logistics are really going to make a big difference. It's always a good idea to make sure that you've prioritized, both for yourself and the person that you're giving care to, the things that will matter the most, the things that will make the trip work best for each person. When we think about the big things, it's important to think about the documents. Maybe one of the places to start sometimes is by making sure that the person that you'll be caring for has the legal items that they will need, a will or a trust or any kind of advance directives or releases of information that you will be needing along the way. It's always good to get all of that set up right at the start. It makes everything down the road easier. There's nothing worse than being in a situation where there's a medical emergency and you don't have proper releases and things that you need in order to get the information and in order to be the best support and help that you can be to your loved one. Think about those things that you need to have in place so that you're able to take good care as you go along the trip. Think about whether or not you know how long the journey might be. Sometimes when people have been thrust into caregiving because someone has a diagnosis of an illness, you may get some idea of how long the journey is. That can help you do a lot of good planning if you know more about that. Think about the costs. Know some things about the resources that will be available that the person that you're caring for has, but also recognize that there will be costs to you as a caregiver and be able to try to estimate those as best you can. Anytime you're taking a trip, you have to think about what the best method for travel is. Sometimes you'll find that traveling by car allows you to see more things and to have an easier pace. Other times, you'd rather spend your time at the destination rather than along the way. And so you may prefer to fly. Or maybe you'll use a train or some other method of travel. In caregiving, it's important to recognize what the best methods of travel will be for you. Will this be something that you can do long distance? Will it mean relocating or relocating the person that you're caring for? And how will all of that be done logistically? There's a lot to think about here. I also want you to think about the journey in terms of knowing where the best places are to rest along the way. Remember that respite care or opportunities for people to spell you along the way, this is really important for your own personal self-care. In part 2, we're going to talk more about self-care, and then I'll have a whole section that's based around self-care. But basically what you want to do is to make plans for being able to get some breaks, being able to kind of recharge and reconsider how things are going. And it's hard to do that when you're in the moment sometimes with caregiving. All good trips involve who you're going to see along the way or when you arrive. Make a plan for incorporating those visits with other people, whether they're visits by phone or the pandemic has famously taught us all how to Zoom. So you might be able to take some time and meet with people online, Have your person that you're caring for keep up their relationships in ways that make sense and in ways that are doable. Sometimes it's as easy as making a phone call. Other times it might be an opportunity for FaceTime or a Zoom call or a card or a note. But take time to connect with the people who are on the journey with you. Recognize that on this journey, there are often detours and unexpected events that happen. Being flexible and being able to adapt to that kind of change is really part of the key to being a successful caregiver. I mentioned a moment ago that you're going to plan the big things first. Get those wills and trusts and the things that you'll need over the long haul legally all set up. And then think about anything that needs to be done in terms of final arrangements. That way, when you get to those times, you don't have any of that to worry about. The other big things are to think a little bit about housing. Does the person that you're caring for plan to stay in their own home? And what are the things that they'll need in order for that to be possible? Sometimes there's some modifications that need to be made to the home. Other times, there's a recognition that maintaining the home in addition to caring for someone may make that more difficult. And then facing those choices of housing, particularly if relocations are involved. It can be really good to figure out some of that as early in the process as you can. You might also need to think about transportation. Our people that we're caring for often face changes in health and mobility that changes the forms of transportation that are available to them. And so you'll want to give some thought to that. Sometimes that plays into decisions about housing, because if transportation is readily available through the housing option that you've chosen, whether it's that the new place that they will live is on a bus line, or that they're moving into a retirement facility that has some transportation available to the grocery store and the drugstore and to other common places that people go, that might be something to consider. There's also the transportation questions that revolve around when someone may need to give up their opportunity to drive. That could be a whole presentation of its own. As you're planning the big events, also think about those things that will relate to care along the way. This is particularly true if you have someone with a chronic or terminal illness, to think a little bit about what will the care options be along the way, and how will we know when to increase the professional support or professional care that we're utilizing and that's available. As you plan the big events, one of the main things to plan on any good trip is to plan your budget. To know about the finances that the person you're caring for intends to use along this journey. And also, as I mentioned before, considering the fact that this may have financial implications for you. Sometimes it involves making changes in your job. Sometimes it means maintaining a home one place and living in another. And there can be a lot of financial considerations here. The more honest you are about that and the better planning you do, the easier that goes. So those are the big events that you want to plan for. Having the legal documents in place, having thought through housing options, thinking about transportation, thinking about care, level of care, and the decision points that may come up in accessing care, and thinking about the finances or the budget for the trip. When you're on the journey of caregiving, not only is the destination important, but everything along the way takes on new meaning. Remember to make opportunities for the things that would bring joy and a high quality of life. It's those side trips that sometimes make the trip most memorable. Think about the things that are easy to enjoy. If your person that you're caring for is not very mobile, look for those things that can be enjoyed right from home. I know I had some friends who greatly enjoyed being able to watch out the window when we put up some bird feeders. That can make a wonderful gazing out the window entertainment. Look for those things that are easy to incorporate along the way and bring joy and meaning and opportunities to just be together and appreciate some of the things in life that have been particularly great experiences for you and for the person you're caring from. Make time to look at photo albums. Make time to tell stories about the things that you've most appreciated. Spending that kind of time and energy will help you through so many of the difficult things. You'll also want to recognize that caregiving is a team sport. Sometimes the more people you have on your team, the better off you are, or at least making sure that you have the right specialists. The people in the right positions who have the right skills can make all the difference. Recognize that on this journey of caregiving, you'll be meeting a lot of new people along the way. Whether that's new doctors or medical professionals, or maybe it's going to be the people at a facility where your loved one needs to be cared for. But all through the journey, there's people everywhere that will be a part of the story. People who will add joy to your days and people who will be able to help you with things that you'll never be able to acquire the expertise to take care of. Talk to the person you're caring about how many new people you'll be welcoming into your life along this journey. Sometimes it helps to know that we're building a team and we're planning to make a lot of new friends. It's also good to know who in your circle has already been on this trip. You'll want to find out if other friends or neighbors, or perhaps even other relatives, have been on the journey of caregiving with someone in their life. I can't tell you how many times in our caregiver support group we had someone who had gone through something, and when someone else was just starting down that particular ramp of caregiving, someone else's experience was really valuable. It paid off to hear how someone else handled that, what they needed to find out, where they went, what resources they had discovered, and being able to share that information. That's one of the great opportunities that comes from being in a support group. If you're in an area where that's available to you, or perhaps you can even start one through a local organization in your area, or perhaps even through a church. Knowing who's already taken the trip can make the trip a lot easier. They tell you all the sights to see. Start thinking about who's already on the team. Sometimes we don't even know that there are people who believe that they're part of the support team, or who would definitely want to be part of the support team. You'll want to make sure that you've calculated who the available players are before you get on the court. Think about friends, relatives, neighbors, and people who've known your person that you're caring for a long time. Remember, too, that professionals will be an important part of the team. Having a good group of professionals that you trust and that really get to know you and the person that you're caring for well will assure a high level of care, but will also give you a high level of confidence that you'll know where to turn when things begin to change. One of the things on the journey of caregiving is that you will be amazed by the people who will come alongside to help you. You'll be amazed at the things that you will learn from the professionals that will be there for you, and you'll be amazed at the resilience and the strength that you'll find within yourself and within the person that you're caring for. Prepare to be amazed. As you're on this journey, there's no shame in asking for directions. Sometimes caregivers feel like they have to do it all on their own. And that's one of the things that leads to poor outcomes for the caregiver, but also for the person that they're caring for. Talking about your experience in caregiving is important so that you can keep learning and growing and developing the skills that this calls for. Being self-aware and recognizing if you're the kind of person who finds it difficult to ask for help, you'll want to find new ways or new resources or people that you can align with, where you can do some learning in a way that fits with your learning style and in a way that supports who you are as a person. Sometimes it's really difficult for the people that we're giving care to ask for help, especially if they feel like they need a lot of help. People who've been fairly independent all of their life may find this to be an extremely difficult loss of independence. There's no shame in asking for help and recognizing that one of the great gifts that we give to each other is to be able to be there when someone needs something and to be able to welcome that request without making it look like it's too much trouble or too much bother. Being able to graciously respond and to reassure that you're glad that they asked for help is really, really an important gift along the way. Remember, too, that it's better to ask people for things that are specific and doable. You'll often hear people say, "Let me know if there's anything I can do." And we say, "Oh, thank you so much." And we have no idea what to ask for, and they have no idea what to do to help. Planning your road trip allows you to identify those opportunities that are things that other people could help you with. Keep a list handy of things that other people could do just as well as you could do. And make sure that when someone says, "Is there anything I can do?" that you offer them one of the things on your list. Do you think you could run to the grocery store and pick up milk and eggs? And there are probably people who would be more than happy to do that for you. I know in one of my caregiving journeys, I was sometimes able to pick up cornflakes on my way over. And I have to tell you, that was always an easy ask. And I'm so glad that they let me know that that would be one of the things that would help. Remember that being on this road trip for caregiving is an adventure. Sometimes it's something that is nothing like anything you've ever done before. Try to be open to the experience. I mentioned a minute ago that it helps if you can be self-aware, if you can be attuned to what it is that you need. And if you are taking good care of yourself and you're recognizing what you need, it makes it easier for you to care for the person that needs you. Recognize that sometimes this is a little bit like a roller coaster. It can be kind of scary. A lot of unexpected things can happen. Sometimes even traumatic things happen. Being able to take good care of yourself and to keep your coping skills strong helps everyone thrive. Not everything in caregiving is sad or awful or traumatic. Some of the most wonderful things happen along the way. It's a time of very special bonding, and it's a time of very, very profound memories. Use this road trip as a time to intentionally look for a way to make those memories. Enjoying special music or special outings or whatever is doable along the way on your journey. Take time to make those memories. Experience those extra special times together with the person that you're caring for. It helps them feel like they're a part of the joy in your life. And it helps you recognize that those are the things that you'll be able to look back on and to appreciate as part of the great opportunity that you had when you became a caregiver. I like to think of it as putting bookmarks in my triptych. Of course, you have to be a certain age to even understand what a triptych is. I understand in modern times they don't give those anymore. When people are going on a trip, everyone uses one of those electronic GPS systems. But once upon a time, we used to go and get our trip mapped out by a professional who would help us mark all of the maps, and then we could put little sticky notes in there reminding us of different things we wanted to see along the way. Those little bookmarks would be a great way to plan some things on your journey, and also great things to look back on when the journey ends. Place yourself in learning mode. We talk a lot now about people having a growth mindset. It's part of what we think about when we think about people who are resilient. We think about people who are not daunted by setbacks or things that are unexpected, but that they're able to see those as challenges and they're able to approach those opportunities with a sense of resolve, and they're open to the problem solving of the next puzzle. This involves a little bit about paying attention to your own thoughts, listening to what you say to yourself about the experience, about the person that you're caring for, and most of all, about yourself. Caregiving can be very difficult. And if you're self-critical, or you feel that the person you're caring for is critical, that can make the job even harder. Surround yourself with cheerleaders, not with critics. If you're in difficult situations where it's easy to second guess yourself, or easy to make mistakes, or easy to feel criticized, find somebody that you can confide in, who can lift you up and who can encourage you, and who can remind you that in this opportunity, doing your best is all anyone can expect. Sometimes it's important along the way, when things are too difficult, to get professional help. In one of these sessions, I'll be talking specifically about mental health, but I always want to remind caregivers that there's no stigma for recognizing that when this gets too difficult, professional help can make a world of difference. Not only professional help for yourself, but also professional help for the person that you're caring for. As we have these sessions, I'm going to talk a little bit more about caregiving in the next session. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about mental health I'm going to talk about self-care for caregivers. I'm going to talk about what happens when your caregiving trip is over. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about family meetings, which I believe are one of the great tools that we can use as we work together with people that we care about. I'm looking forward to having you listen in for some of the other sessions, and I hope that our time today has helped you to think about caregiving as a road trip, one that you may all need to go on at some point or another, maybe with a spouse, maybe with an aging parent, maybe with a relative or friend, a neighbor, or someone who has an accident even at a young age. There are all kinds of reasons that people need to have someone care for them. And I'm glad that you're one of the people who's prepared to take this road trip. I wish you many happy memories along the way. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, we'll wait for Donna to come back and have our discussion here, but that's so informative. There's so many things to be thinking about. And when Margaret's talking about the roadmap and all the plans, it's so interesting because I think most of the time something happens and we just get thrown into this, caregiving situation, and we don't sometimes have that opportunity to stop and figure out, wait, what are these steps? How long is it going to take? What resources do we have to pay for these certain things, and what can we do ourselves? And there's a lot of the points that she was making.
Yeah, I agree. Just first of all, it was really good. Really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to hear her other series that she has. I'm pretty excited about hearing about those. But several different things stuck out to me at different times when she was talking. The first thing that kind of stood out when she was talking about the planning the road trip. Being able to know like your different stops and who you're going to see and things of that nature, it just kind of reminded me that it's so true, because about a year ago my daughter and I decided to take a trip. She had just bought this vehicle. It was an electric vehicle, and so she wanted to try it out on the highway. Now, being, an electric car going to Dallas is like a 10-hour drive. We end up making that whole trip in 17 hours because we were not prepared for the charging stations. And even though we found charging stations along the way, some of them were either out of order, somebody was at them. It was just so many hiccups that we had experienced. Then I was like, never again. But it is so true, because you don't really think about that. I'm so used to the latter part of the era of like the trip tickets and the maps and things like that. So I would always print out my directions, like go into Google Maps or something, print out my directions, make sure I had those. And even when that kind of went away and people started, just doing it on their phones, I would still print mine out because I didn't trust it. I'm just like not a techie person. So I'm like, I want to do the old school things.
I
So,
used to do that too, print them, and I probably, if I'm taking a long trip, a lot of times you want to be able to look at a map, but a few years ago, this kind of comes to my mind because of what you're saying. But a few years ago, um, a coworker I still had at the time, she volunteered. So her car was bigger, and she volunteered that we would drive. We were just driving basically to Rolla, but we had to be on the other side of Rolla, and we were like either taking or getting back. I forget which way. I guess we were picking up stuff that we need to bring back to St. Louis from someone. And we were getting there. And just before we left, I drank a big soda as we were first driving. And then about maybe the 5 to 10 miles prior to where we were going to go, I'm sorry, 5 to 10 miles prior to where we were going, the highway just stopped. You couldn't go anywhere. So we sat there for probably about an hour-ish, and I was like, I went to the bathroom. It was bad. And then we did get diverted off the highway, and we had to go to the other side and then around. And so we did make it to the place. We kept texting them, but then we were supposed to go somewhere else. So we figured out how to get there. And went to go eat. We were trying to wait it out. But by the time we did all that, the highway was still closed to come back to St. Louis.
Oh, man.
So we were like, okay, what's the diversion here? And so we had to divert, but as we were doing it, and the person told us how, it was still working on the phone. But then when we had to start making these turns, there was no service to tell us. And luckily, she had a Missouri map in her car still.
Oh my
We had to take this
God.
map and figure it out. And some people, with the trip tickets, I remember years ago, having those, and they would tell you, and it would make even suggestions on where to stop and refresh and do those things. I've always been a little bit more of a traveler of seat of my pants, okay, here you see someplace and you can stop, so that you didn't have that. So I would probably run into that if I had the electric car or whatever. I've had other friends that mapped it out, and they knew that they were going to stop at exit blah blah blah, and they were going to stop at this time and stay at this hotel, and I was just like, I gotta stop when I'm tired or what have you. But yeah, it's an experience, and you have to
Yes, it
be
is.
prepared, but you also need to be prepared to take some things as they come, I think. And one thing that struck me too was um, when Margaret was saying, well, if someone offers to help in some way,
Oh, yeah.
look at your list and take that item out. I think oftentimes we'll tell people, you know, um, oh, I can help you or whatever. And they'll say, okay, I'll get back to you. But there's not a specific thing. So then nothing ever happens. And so if you had those specifics when someone's reaching out, and you could
Yeah.
say, well, I could use this or that, is when you always are like, I'll get back to it. I'll get back to you, or, or let me know if I can do something for you someday. I think that doesn't
Yeah, because
happen.
you'll find yourself kind of getting worn out because you continue to take on the task yourself. You
Mhm.
don't allow other people to come in and relieve you. And I know so many of us are very, um, we do that because we're so used to doing it. And if I don't do it, maybe it may get done and maybe it won't get done. And it's kind of like the motherly instinct that sometimes we'll do our kids chores because we want them to do it, but they're not moving fast enough, or we want it done in a certain way, want it to be done right. Their right is not our right sometimes. And so, you know but we have to learn that you have to allow people to take things off your plate, because that's to avoid caregiver burnout. Because if you don't, you'll get burnt out, and guess what? Nothing is getting accomplished. You're not going anywhere. Then what? Then you have another issue that you've embarked upon that you have to try to crawl over. And so it's very important that you kind of utilize as many resources as you can to help you to combat whatever it is that you're going to these difficult times, because there can sometimes be some very difficult times, and you don't want to overwhelm yourself, or just be too much where it either doesn't get done, or you're so tired that you're moving at a slower rate, or just sometimes it just makes things worse, I think.
Yeah.
So I
It,
agree.
it is
Yeah,
kind of
get the help.
interesting when you go to do it. Um, it's good to have, certain directions there of what where things are and what to do, what the person likes. But I know I had a humorous thing to me when I was helping my dad last year, before he passed, that I got there and it was like, okay, he wants this cereal in the morning, and then it was like he wanted berries and berries and or bananas in it, and it had to be cut up. And the berries, it even said, put some cereal, then berries, then cereal, then berries, or whatever it was. But I
Yeah,
had
as
the
you were
berries
sitting there.
there, and then it was like they were just sitting there because I didn't want it to get all before he came over. He was like, "Well, there's no berries," and I just spooned them in on the top. He goes, "But they're not layered." I said, "Stir it." I stirred it. I'm like, "Okay, they're there now." It was kind of funny. I was just used to having it one way, and I was just like,
Uh-huh.
it's like the bananas are, I'm like, here it is, stir it. But it is, people when they're sick too, they just do get particular about how
Yeah.
they want certain things.
Yeah.
But they are able to do it because I think I wasn't sitting right by him. I told him, "Well, stir it, Dad." He stirred it. Like he was very capable of doing that at that point, but he
Yeah.
didn't think he hadn't been having to do it. So I think that self-care is, like you're saying too, so important
It
as she
is.
talked, because we all, do stuff. I know you and I have, I was thinking about with this roadmap, but things happen. You and I have been doing a lot with the tornado relief things, and going down there and talking. You've talked to a lot of people, and they were pretty resilient in some of those buildings, and they didn't have electricity, and they were trying to have their spirit about doing, getting things done. But
Yeah.
it was really hard, but you couldn't really have this scenario mapped out, in that kind of
Yeah, no,
response,
that was just a, you know, not so normal, that wasn't a something that you can expect,
hmm
to usually happen. So yeah, we just kind of had to do the best we could with what we had, at the
yeah.
time.
And then it's so important is the comment about using the resources, that we had to try to find resources and find them quickly and get them in place. And now at this point in the city, that's kind of happened, and people are having to stop and slow down and try to really get the long-term response
Yeah,
in
yeah,
place.
the help.
But the self-care was even coming in for us and other people who are trying to reach out, because it was a lot of long days trying to figure that out. But if
Yeah,
but if we don't, it's the same like the airplane, where they say put your oxygen on first before your child.
right. Yeah,
hmm Yeah. So
difficult times.
I don't remember what's in part two, but I am looking forward to hearing
Yeah.
about it on Wednesday again. I don't
I was
think you
going to say,
can.
if you did remember, do not tell it. You cannot, it's like a movie, you cannot reveal it.
Well, she did say she was going to talk a little bit more about self-care, but there is one whole section on self-care, and another section, I think, on mental health, and another section on
Yeah.
what to do when everything's over as well. We kind of
Yeah,
get,
some really good topics and ideas. So that's why I'm really looking forward to hearing the rest of her series to see, what she actually taps into on those.
mhm.
Just to kind of enlighten us and everyone else on things that we may not have thought about. And even if you have thought about it, maybe something else to add on to your thoughts of, how you're going to do what you're going to do and things like that. Just more knowledge.
I think we always hear different things on different occasions.
Yeah, that's what's so neat about
So I
these
take a little drink
classes.
because often we are hearing what we need to hear at that time. And
Yeah,
so that's important, I think. But besides our series on Monday and Wednesday for the next 3 weeks, there's another class or two coming up.
yep. We have a couple more for the month. What are we in? June, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we
See,
still
we
have
don't
three
know that
more.
because we've been not taking care of ourselves as well as we need to. And yes, it is June, June 9th.
So yeah, we have three others as well, that, or maybe four, actually four more so far. But as far as caregiver ones, yeah, we're going to have at least three more for this month. Besides these series here, we have three more. So
Do we
that
know the
will
topics yet in general?
I do, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
I write them down in my calendar, but I moved my position because the lawnmower was too loud in my area that I've been working in. I took my dining room, that's my new office. I need to go in that actually my office, but I don't know. I like being upstairs with everybody else, being able to look out the window and stuff, you know? So
That's your way of taking care of yourself.
I guess, huh?
Yeah.
I need to do a
Yeah.
better way, look, a better job of it, I think.
Okay.
Take a little bit more time out for myself. But hey, with life and just things just coming and you're busy and got um timelines on stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I'll
Yeah.
eventually get to it though, I'm sure.
But
Did you rest this weekend?
I actually did rest a bit. Yeah.
Yay. I'm
Yeah.
happy for you. Good for
Yeah,
you.
I was trying to take that self-care tip a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, since you did it, I know I have to do it too then.
But yeah, so everybody, you can watch on our Facebook page. It has the classes always listed, and we go live. You can come on it live, and if you have any comments or questions, and just watch for the next class. And if you're not watching it live and you have a question, you can ask, and we'll get back with you about that. But again, you can reach out to us at Aging Advantage, and if you're needing any assistance and you live in the city, we're able to do a lot of things for you there.
Great. Yep. Come and be with us. Thank you so much again for your time, guys. Appreciate it. See you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Bye.